Hello and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Bhavana. Today is 9th March and let's see what we have got in PIB analysis. Before moving ahead, I would like to inform all of you that you can download the PDF of this lecture from my Facebook page and identify the person that you can see on your screen. Make sure you add more details regarding this person, like why he is famous for and or what he is famous for and things like that. For new students, I would like to inform all of you that we provide pen drive and tablet courses for various different exams. As you can see on your screen, we cater UPSC, UPSC optional courses, defense courses, bank exams, state level exams and much more. The thing is, this pen drive and tablet courses are designed by the best faculties of our country. So the quality that you are going to get from our pen drive and tablet courses is going to be of top of the range. Other thing is, you can find out other details pertaining to our pen drive and tablet courses from our portal. If you have any queries, feel free to ask us. Give us a call on this number or you can use the chat support that is there on our portal. Your prelims are not far if you are preparing for your Civil Services Examination. We have got MCQs, test series and quiz as well for you guys. So make sure you check those things out as well. With this, we have first item on our screen, and this is coming from President's Office. Sri Ramnath Kovindji received the first copy of the book Fulfilling Bapu's Dreams, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tribute to Gandhiji, or Prime Minister Modi's tribute to Gandhiji. This is the proper name of this particular book. Now, if you find this type of questions, if you are preparing for bank exams or SSC exams and other exams, for UPSC, you don't find this type of questions, but for other exams, it is an important thing. This book is written by Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, and I would like to throw some important background information regarding different spiritual gurus in our country. Or when I say different spiritual, what I'm trying to tell you here is the contribution of spiritual gurus or religious gurus in the development of our society. Now, if you go back in history, then you will find that India is a country where religious or spiritual gurus have always played a very important role in the development of our country or our society. Go back in the ages of Buddha, you find that Buddha was very closely connected with politics, or you can say the administration of that point of time. Many kings and princes, they used to knock the doors of Buddha and they used to ask his insight on different issues that were faced by administration at that point of time. This is just one example, and you will also find that it's not that our spiritual gurus are just confined with religion and spirituality only. They are very scientific in their approach as well, and Buddha is a very good example. It's not just Buddha and it's not just about Buddhism. If you go through different communities, may it be Sufis, or if you go through Islamic world or Christians or Parsis and other religious communities that we have spiritual gurus, good spiritual gurus. It's very sad that I have to add good in today's time, because you know many cases are coming out in contemporary time, but here our focus is on the good thing. You will find two sides of same coin in different societies, so it's up to us where we are looking at. But anyways, we have scientific gurus, right? And recently we lost a scientific guru. I forgot his name as I'm talking to you right now. As you know that these lectures are very raw. We have a one-to-one natural conversation with each other. But that spiritual guru was also, he has in fact throughout his life talked about education and scientific temper and things like that. And here you find Jaggi Vasudev and other J. Krishnamurti. If you go through the work of Osho then as well, you will find he has talked about engineering, he has talked about medical science and many other important things. So this is a uniqueness of our country, and of course it is a very good thing as well. The other thing is, I have one more example of the other way around. You have many scientists as well in our country who are famous around the world. But if you learn their life, if you study their life, then you will find that their roots are very much, you can say, in depth in spirituality. And the best example that I can think of is APJ Kalam sir, isn't it? If you have studied the life of Kalam sir, then of course it is a very common knowledge thing that he is the missile man of our country. But if you study his life, you will find that he was a very spiritual person as well. So this is beauty of our country. You find scientists who are spiritual, and you find spiritual gurus who are talking about science. So this is a perfect balance. So this particular item that we have discussed so far is important for your mains examination, for civil services and other exams where you have to face interviews as well as you have to write mains answers or essays or things like that. Now, before moving ahead, I have one more important thing to share with you guys, and the thing is that today I have added a topic on corruption. This is a special topic. I have kept it the end of this discussion, so we will talk about it. I'm sure corruption is a thing that we all think about, we all are worried about it, and we all aspire to do something through which we can get rid of this corruption in our system and in our country. So I have a particular point to share with you guys. We'll talk about it as we reach there, but for now, President has said that this book underscores an important aspect of India's developmental process. It is about linking sanitation with broad mass participation, making it a mass movement, and giving central importance to practical needs of ordinary citizens in policy and ethical ideals. It is also trying to establish this ethical ideals in public life. Moving on to another item, this is coming from Vice President. He has talked about rule of law. He was addressing or interacting with some pass outs of law colleges or law students, and he said that rule of law is at the foundation of our democratic polity. Now, what do we understand from this statement coming from Vice President? The thing is, see, if you observe your family as well, then you will find, of course, we don't have written rules in our family, but there are some rules, right? Commonly agreed rules in every household, right? Every house, every family, they do have this unwritten, or you can say commonly understood or agreed rules. And without rules, what happens is that your life becomes a bit chaotic, right? And when it comes to a country like India, our country is very diverse, right? We all are unique in our own ways. We all are living in different parts of our country. We all have our own world in the pockets in which we are living. So it is important that we have some common rules and regulations that are applied throughout our country. The other thing is that rule of law is very important in today's development process as well, because just imagine a person who is investing millions of rupees in India. And this is a very important topic as well, because ease of doing business. When we talk about ease of doing business, even today we are lagging in many things, and one of the thing is this rule of law. Lack of implementation of contracts is one of the biggest hurdle that we face when it comes to ease of doing business in our country. A person who has invested millions of rupees or millions of dollars in our country, in India, and that person from Japan, just in case, finds that what was offered is not being what was offered or what was said is not basically implemented, then he or she will knock the doors of court. And on an average, even today, it takes 5 years, right? This is an average that I'm telling you about. On an average, it takes 5 years in our country to sort out this cases pertaining to this business and this cheating, or you can say this problems that arise in contract. So what happens, just imagine if you have borrowed $50 million from Bank of Japan, and now you are investing it in India, and you know that it will take 5 years, so you have to pay interest, isn't it, to Bank of Japan. So eventually your company will come down, or it will die, and this will create a very wrong signal throughout the world that India is not a good place to do business, and then it hampers our economic development and our social development and other things. So in this context, if you think, then yes, rule of law is at the foundation of our democratic polity, our growth and development. Apart from that, we see many cases, right, that they are going on for ages in our country, and for that we need proper law colleges. We need law colleges to produce best sound lawyers, sound jurists, best jurists that can protect and guard our democratic system as well as our judiciary. These are the people who will make this whole process bit fast, bit more effective and more efficient, and they play a very important role in making our society or our nation a just and a peaceful and a prosperous nation. So in this context, law colleges play a very important role in shaping our country. And the Vice President also said that India's strong judicial and law enforcement system needs continual strengthening. And when you will become an IPS officer, you will become part of this criminal justice system. At that point of time, you will become a very small yet very important cog in a big machinery. Moving on to another item, this is more for your general understanding. Many times you find MCQs based on this type of things as well. Now you have a thing called Basel III. It is pertaining to capital regulation. So you have to say, for example, layman's language, you have to keep, if you are a bank, public sector bank, then at least you should have 100 rupees. This is just a small hypothetical example. It is not that you have to keep 100 rupees. I'm just giving you one example just to clarify my point here. So as per this Basel norm, say for example, if you are a PSB bank, then you have to have 100 rupees as your capital. So these standards are called Basel III norms, and in our country Basel III norms are been looked after by, or the guidelines pertaining to it is released by RBI. Very important item here. You may find a question MCQ on this one, and I don't want you guys to miss anything, any sorts of things that are important that you find in current affairs. So keep this thing in mind, that when it comes to Basel III norms in our country, it is the RBI who issues all these norms and guidelines. The other thing is that RBI has said that full implementation of Basel III capital regulations in India will be there by March 31st, 2019. At present, our financial year is of 2017-18. You know that our new financial year will start from 1st April 2018. So I can say that by the end of next financial year, Basel III norms will be applied, or our PSBs will be, all our PSBs will be eligible for this Basel III capital regulation norms. RBI has also said that this recent decision of Government of India is going to recapitalize our banks because they are facing this NPA and bad debt problems and haircutting and other things. So recapitalization of 2,11,000 crore rupees will be done over this year and next financial year, and out of that 1,53,139 crore rupees will be provided by the government, and the balance will be provided by raising capital from the market. I have a very important news to share with you guys, and this is coming from Supreme Court. Supreme Court today gave out a very important judgment. It is pertaining to this living will. We will go through what living will is all about, but before that I would like to tell you one thing, that in near future, I may come up with a special topic, a special video lecture on this thing, on living will, because I believe it is a very important item. And in near future, we will also find editorials, we will find many articles, and many discussions will take place in many different channels. So I will try to give you the best I can. I cannot say anything now. Maybe a special video lecture, or I will add some important points, just like this corruption topic that I'm going to discuss with you guys today. So coming back to this living will, what a living will is all about. Very small and easy to understand example is that, say for example, I am fine at present, right? I'm mentally and physically doing okay, nothing is wrong with me now, but in future anything can go wrong. So just in case, if I am, God forbid, in this sort of situation in vegetative form, where I am lying on a hospital bed and I am in coma, say for example, then what will and who will decide whether I should leave or whether euthanasia, that means you can remove this life supporting machines and then I can die peacefully. So who will decide at that point of time? So at present I can make this living will. I can appoint a person or a near one or dear one, and that person can take decision about my life, just in case if anything goes wrong with me. This is called passive euthanasia. Now Supreme Court came out with this verdict, and one of the strongest point, or you can say the base of this whole verdict, is right to live a life of dignity, which includes right to die with dignity as well. There is no point, if you know that a person is not going to wake up, if best doctors are telling you that this person on the bed in coma or some other injuries, that person is never going to wake up, he's never going to have his awareness back, he will never be a normal person anymore, then rather than allowing, or rather than putting that person in a situation where he or she is suffering, going through all this pain and trauma, whether they are conscious or not, you know, the medical expenses and other things. So that is not what life is all about, isn't it? Life is not just breathing. Life is about living. So at that point of time, family members can take a decision to remove this life supporting system. This is called passive euthanasia. I hope this thing is clear to you. If you are following my The Hindu analysis in English, then you would be aware about this thing. If you are not, then I would reckon if you are preparing for Civil Services Examination, then yes, you should go through the Hindu analysis in English as well. And if you are preparing for other exams, then as well it will help you a lot with your current affairs and important things that are going on in our country or around the world. Now, 5-judge constitution bench. Out of this 5 judges, 4 judges are for this living will or passive euthanasia, and they have apex court has basically said that it is going to lay, or it has in fact laid down guidelines as to who would execute the will and how the nod for passive euthanasia would be granted by the medical board. Now I have a picture. This is coming from the Hindu newspaper, and you can see here who can make it: an adult with a sound and healthy mind. It should be in clear terms, right? You should clearly say who is going to look after and why you are deciding this thing and that. Then you have this contents of the will. You will talk about treatment, and you will appoint a guardian, a close relative or a guardian and things. And we can also understand that this thing can be misused. So to provide extra protection, how this thing will work, and this is a very important bit here, that when you write down this will be you can say signed in front of 2 witnesses, and preferably it will be countersigned by first class judicial magistrate as well, JMFC. He or she will sign it, and then this JMFC will pass this thing to district court registry. It will be locked and saved over there, and you have a custodian as well of this particular will. So in this way, misuse of this thing can be limited or can be eliminated. In near future, we will find out if there is any flaw with this system or not, but so far so good. Moving on to another item. This is about Ministry of External Affairs. As I am speaking to you right now, French President Emmanuel Macron is already here. He is here on a 4-day visit, and the Joint Secretary in MEA, K. Nagaraj Naidu, has raised this curtain of this visit. A curtain raiser thing is basically that we are going to talk about maritime security and terrorism. You know, this Paris attack and other things going on in France. So terrorism is a very important topic for both of us, France as well as India. We are going to talk about issues of mutual interest and things like that. This is just a curtain raiser, but let me take you through some important locations of Europe. You can see here, this is France. I'm sure you all know where exactly France is, because this is a very famous country. It is not the first time that we are discussing France. I have a zoomed map here. Let me show you a couple of important bits and pieces here. So you can see France is sharing its border with Spain, with Netherlands. It is sharing its border with this Luxembourg, a very small tiny city country here. Then you have Germany, Switzerland. We talked about Switzerland when Prime Minister was there for Davos meeting, and then you have this Italy as well. So these are the countries with which France is sharing its border. Then I have a zoomed map for you here. I don't have to say this thing, but again, that Paris is its capital, and then you have this river called Champagne that is passing from Paris. You have some other important items like Atlantic Ocean is here. You have Bay of Biscay, English Channel. You have this Strait of Dover. You have this Dunkirk here, and you have a very famous film as well, Dunkirk. This year it has got Oscar awards as well. There was a film called Dunkirk. And you have this Strait of Dover, a very important place. I have been there, so I know this one. They have a channel over here. You can come from this Dover to France with the help of this tunnel thing. And other important bits and pieces, you have this Mediterranean Sea here. This portion here is famous for this French Riviera, and you have this Monte Carlo and other famous tourist destinations. Then you have Alps mountain here. Tour de France, a very famous cycling race, takes place in this region. We talked about this portion of Alps mountain when we were talking about this Switzerland. And One more thing, you find this Greenwich Meridian timeline, this prime meridian, it is known as 0 degree, that is passing from that is considered from Greenwich, that is in London, and then from here this line, this 0 degree line, is passing from France as well. So as you can see, these are important bits and pieces. Of course, you have to spend 5 to 10 minutes after this map here. In near future I will share some more maps if it is required. Now, why it is interested in maritime cooperation with India? As you can see here, France is a very interesting country. If you look at its overseas territories, you find small islands. Reunion and other islands are here in Indian Ocean. Then you find islands in Pacific Ocean, nearby Australia, nearby USA, nearby this not USA exactly, but here nearby this Panama and other north and south, between this not far from this countries over here, right? In Pacific Ocean, again, you have French Polynesia, and you have in Atlantic Ocean as well. We talked about this thing when we were discussing this cyclone that hit this portion. At that point of time, I provided you some questions as well pertaining to this islands here. So I hope you remember all these things, right? So this is the reason, and you know, this Indo-Pacific region is very important. You know, this China playing a dual, or playing these games of assertive games and colonization done by China in different parts, Maldives and Sri Lanka and other places. So it is important that both these countries are coming together. Some more items will come in future, but this is a good background, I believe. And now coming on to this topic of corruption. Now, you know, this NEMO, that is Nirav Modi's bank scam, is out, and our public sector banks, right? One of the unique selling proposition of our public sector bank is you have this what do you call trust factor, right? If you compare PSBs with private banks, one of the most important thing in the mind of citizen is that if you keep your money in PSBs, then trust is the main thing, because it is supported by the government. But all these scams are tainting the image of our public sector banks. Now, the thing is, when Prime Minister was campaigning for his prime ministership, at that point of time he was CM of Gujarat, so he said that he does not want to become a prime minister. He is going to become a chokidar, or a watchdog, or a watchman for the whole country. And now when this scam is out, people are blaming him. So the question is it right to blame our prime minister for the scams that are going on in different tiny branches of our public sector banks? The obvious logical answer is, of course not. Practically, a person cannot keep eye on everything, isn't it? This is a very simple thing to understand. But how can we get rid of this corruption that we find in different parts and different branches at different levels in our country? The only thing that you can do is to build strong institutions, right? What is going on at present is that you have this 20 PSU banks, but we don't have this workman or an officer director post. It has been vacant for a very long period of time, nearly 6 months time it has been vacant. And these people, this different you can say layers that you have, or different hierarchy at different places, you have important watchdogs. They will keep eye on what's going on in different branches and different departments. It's not just about Punjab National Bank or just PSBs. You can apply this thing in different departments as well. So we need this proper watchdogs. Now we have to also ensure that these watchdogs and their offices are immune. When I say immune, I mean to say, of course, we need check and balances, but in their day-to-day working, if they want to conduct some raid or something, or if they want to check or go through some important documents of any sort of, or within their department, if they want to, then they should have a free hand. Their promotion and their other things should not be done by the people who are working there, because this will, of course, impact their freedom. The other thing is anti-corruption institutions at every level, which must strengthen and empowered, is one of the most important thing if we want to fight against corruption. Just a clean prime minister cannot do everything, and government at present is of course claiming that they have came out with this Benami Property Act and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code and things like that, which are things in right direction, no doubt. But what about this sort of things? We find we have not appointed Lokpal yet. For important posts in Information Commission is still vacant. CBI even today is termed as a caged parrot. You know, election funding, which is the root cause of black money and corruption, we have still not worked, or we have not sorted out this election funding thing. And then we have this public sector banks, Neta Babus, administrators, as well as you can say this bureaucrats and this politicians nexus, and how we have this NPA and this sort of frauds going on in our country. So until and unless we build strong institutions with check and balances, and people who are, or watchdogs should be given a free hand, there should not be any interference or political interference, particularly their tenure as well as their appointment should be transparent. Only then we can sort these problems that are going out. So yes, the bottom line, or in a nutshell, I can say that it is not a single individual, it is these institutions that can sort this problem of corruption from our country. This is going to be more practical and logical when we talk about institutions, because institutions, they live forever or for a very long period of time. Good people, clean people, right, they are for a limited time period. You might have observed this thing as well, that when you have good IPS officers or good IAS or collectors or superintendent of police in your area, they will be working many hours every day, and when they are there, things are sorted out. But as soon as they are transferred, things are back to normal. This indicates that it is not an individual, it is the institution that can sort things out for us. These are some questions for you here, new ones. This is same old question. I would like you guys to take your time, right? I'm not pushing you, take your time, but do come up with an answer. It is very important. One of you have came out with a very good answer. I would request you to think about, add more points, refine your answer, and try to publish a very crisp answer. Of course, I appreciate your efforts, and your efforts are very right as well. You came out with some good examples, so keep it up. It's a good spirit, and it will help you a lot in building your capacity as well as your understanding. That's everything that I have got here. I have to say goodbye to you now. I'll see you all soon. Enjoy your studies. Jai Hind.